Have you ever been there, facing a decision that feels like an actual war inside your own head? Where your heart is screaming one thing, but your duty, your responsibility is pulling you in the complete opposite direction? Well, today, we're diving into one of the most powerful explorations of that exact crisis, the Bhagavad Gita. And let me tell you, this is way more than just an old religious text. It's a timeless guide for anyone staring into the abyss, set on the eve of a massive, world-changing battle.
So what is it exactly? The Gita, which means the Song of God, is a 700-verse scripture, and it's actually a small part of this gigantic Indian epic called the Mahabharata. But the real magic here isn't its size, it's how it's told. The whole thing is just one intense, desperate conversation between a warrior prince who has completely lost his nerve and his chariot driver, who, as it turns out, is a whole lot more than just the guy holding the reins.
So let's meet our hero. This is Arjuna. He is the warrior of his age, an archer without equal, a man of legendary courage. The scene is set. The armies are ready to clash, the horns have been blown, the fight is moments away. And right then, at that critical second, Arjuna looks out at the enemy line, and he just breaks. He's completely frozen, paralyzed by a sudden, overwhelming despair.
So what on earth could bring a hero like Arjuna, of all people, to his knees? This is the central problem that kicks off the entire conversation of the Gita. It's a crisis of love versus duty, a conflict that is incredibly personal and just agonizingly real.
I mean, really think about that. What do you do? For Arjuna, this isn't some philosophical question you debate over coffee. No, this is the horror staring him right in the face. His dharma, his sacred duty as a warrior, is to fight for justice. But to do that, he has to kill his own family.
And look who he's up against. This isn't just a list of names. He sees his great-grandfather, Bhishma, the man he's revered his whole life. He sees his teacher, Drona, the man who taught him to be the warrior he is. He sees his cousins, his old friends. The victory he is supposed to fight for will be built on the bodies of everyone he has ever loved.
So he makes his choice. He literally throws down his legendary bow, sinks into his chariot, and says he's done. He tells his guide, Krishna, he'd rather die, right there, without a weapon in his hand, than take part in this nightmare. His final word on it? I will not fight. And with that, time basically stops. The battle is put on hold, making way for a much, much deeper kind of war.
Okay, this is where the whole story takes a massive turn. Arjuna's chariot driver, his friend Krishna, decides it's time to show his true colors. He's not just a charioteer. He is an incarnation of God, a divine teacher who is about to completely reframe everything Arjuna thinks he knows about life, death, duty, and reality itself.
Now, Krishna doesn't start with a pep talk. No, you got this, buddy speech. He starts with this radical, mind-bending statement. He basically says, Arjuna, you sound really smart, but you're crying over the wrong things. You're mourning for something that isn't even really there. And with that one line, he shifts the whole conversation from a physical battlefield to the battlefield within the soul.
So Krishna's first lesson is huge, and it hits right at the core of Arjuna's fear of killing his family. He introduces this fundamental idea that changes the entire game, the concept of the immortal self.
Krishna explains that who we really are, our core essence, the Atma, the self, it's not the body. This self is eternal. It was never born, it will never die. It's the pure, conscious energy that just happens to be lighting up the body for a little while.
He uses this incredible analogy. He says, the body is just like a set of clothes. You put them on when you're born, you wear them for a while, and then you discard them at death and get a new set. But you, the person wearing the clothes, the self, that doesn't change at all. So when Arjuna is looking at his relatives and panicking about destroying them, Krishna is basically saying, you can't even touch who they really are.
This is maybe one of the most famous lines in the whole Gita. It just drives home how completely indestructible this inner self is. No sword, no fire, no force in this physical world can even lay a scratch on that eternal spark. Which means that Arjuna's grief, as powerful and as real as it feels, is rooted in a mistake,
a misunderstanding of who his family and who he himself truly is.
All right, so Krishna's dealt with the fear of death, but that still leaves Arjuna's main problem. How can he bring himself to do the act of fighting? How can he take part in this war without being spiritually crushed by the sin of it all? Krishna's answer is a brilliant path called Karma Yoga. So what is Karma Yoga? Simply put, it's the art of doing your duty with absolute focus and skill, but then completely letting go of the outcome. You see, it's not about avoiding action. It's about radically changing your inner relationship to what you do and what comes of it.
And Krishna lays it out almost like a recipe. It's a three-step process. First, you get crystal clear on what your duty, your dharma, actually is. For Arjuna, it's a warrior's duty to fight for justice. Second, you do that duty with every ounce of skill you have. But third, and this is the hardest part, you have to let go of the fruits of your action. Victory, defeat, praise, blame. You do the work and offer the results to something higher, and you stay centered.
And this mental state Krishna is describing, this is yoga. Now, we're not talking about downward dog here. In this context, yoga is a state of perfect mental balance, of equanimity. By acting without being tied to the results, Arjuna can do his duty without being emotionally and karmically wrecked by it. He can fight the war that needs to be fought, but with a mind that's actually at peace.
So the Gita starts on this specific battlefield thousands of years ago, with this one warrior's personal hell. But the ideas they talk about, the true nature of the self, the path of selfless action, they speak to everyone, everywhere, far beyond that one ancient war.
And that really is the genius of the Bhagavad Gita. It takes this extreme life-or-death situation and uses it to teach us about our own lives. We all have our battlefields, right? They might be in our careers, in our families, in our own heads when we have to make a tough moral choice. The Gita gives us a kind of playbook for those moments, asking us to look past the surface-level drama and act with courage, clarity, and a calm mind.
Which brings it all back to that final, critical question the Gita leaves us with. It doesn't just hand you a neat little answer, because there isn't one. Life is messy. Instead, it gives you a new way to approach the question itself. It asks you to think about what's truly real and what's temporary, to act with dedication but without attachment, and to find your own right path. It's a question that's just as powerful and urgent for us today as it was for Arjuna on that dusty field of battle.